Hey guys, for this week's assignment I had to explain the different theories, the contingency leadership theory, the continuum theory, the path goal leadership, and the leadership substitutes theory. Now, at first I had a difficult time understanding the contingency leadership theory, and after I studied on it, I understood or was able to understand that the continuum theory, the path goal leadership, were also contingency theories. But I thought that they were a whole separate theory until I studied up on them. So the continuum leadership theory works best with what works best where. So wherever there's a need for the leader to be flexible or adapt to a certain circumstance, they need to. Recognize the contingency leadership recognizes different situations are bound to exist in organizations. So all the different organizations, there's some kind of situation that's different from one organization to another. And I'm going to show that to you here in just a minute with a Venn diagram. So the contingency leadership also notices and interprets and behaves appropriately to whatever the circumstance might be, which is really the basis of the contingency theory, is that you analyze and notice the situation and understand what involves or what the composite is of the organization that you're about to lead. Theories, models, and frameworks, they can provide leaders with tools to improve leadership effectiveness. So all the theories, understanding them can help you be flexible in a way that you know is going to fit into the framework appropriately. So what I want to talk about first was the continuum theory, and then next to be the path goal leadership. So the continuum theory is a theory that's a boss-oriented or boss-centered theory that is on a continuum from 1 to 7. Now in the book, the continuum is labeled vertically. I put it horizontally because I think that the graphics helped me understand all the different theories, and drawing it out that way kind of let me see how the continuum was moving and how leadership has to move back and forth on that continuum. The path goal leadership is a path that the leader and the employee both take to a goal that they want to achieve, a personal goal or an organizational goal to achieve. But the motivation has to come from the principal, it has to be pushed, or from the leader rather, has to be pushed. So what I did was, after I figured out the continuum and the path goal, then I went back because I really wanted to understand contingency. So I put the contingency, I put the two different organizations on a Venn diagram, and I talked about on one side the things that were different between a grocery store and a pet store, and then the middle circles are the things that are the same. So that helped me understand contingency theory, because when I thought about it, the things that were the same were common notable things like bills, production, profit. They both want profit. Both leaderships, I'm sure, have bills that they have to pay to keep the organization going. But then the difference is when I started thinking about those, that was where the continuum, or the contingency rather, started falling in place, and I started seeing why a leader would have to adapt and adjust in all these different frameworks and all these different ways. And I'm going to show one of those the continuum here in just a second, but I just wanted to show you that. So, for example, the difference was the grocery store might have 30 cashiers and the pet store might have 10 or 12 cashiers. So, the leadership would have to be flexible in those aspects, that there's more cashiers that are needed, so more hiring, more firing, or, advancements. And the grocery store, the employees might be in a union. And if they're part of a union, you have to be flexible and understand and adjust for certain parameters that the union and employee put forth. So those are some of the things you have to expect, and that's where the contingency theory plays a part. Is it saying that those things will happen, so you have to be able to follow a structure to solve and respond in adequate or appropriate leadership behaviors. So the next thing that I wanted to show you was the continuum. So the continuum, like I said a few minutes ago, goes from 1 to 7. So the continuum theory is just the theory that says it's time to put your boss pants on now. So it's labeled from 1 to 7. And so this is the model that I would like to use for my future leadership responsibilities. So let's say, for example, that I want to, or I have to mandate all the teachers to implement 20 minutes, let's just say 20 minutes of guided reading time into their literacy block. So the instructional program that central office that we adopted and central office purchased, we have to use it now. So all of those, the fidelity of the program, the implementation has to be done correctly. So anyway, I just took that idea and I put it with the 1 through 7 continuum, from the continuum from autocratic to participatory to participating. So one, what I would say in my future company is, this is the guided reading program that we're going to use. Now, as I move up the scale, depending on my employees, the environment, and situations, and circumstances, and all those other things that I need to be aware of come into play, it could go up to 2. Guided reading has been researched as a instructional best practice. It goes up to 3. Central office has mandated as a part of daily literacy for us to be implementing guided reading. And then see, it goes up to 4 and a 5 and a 6. See how it goes up like that? Well, when you get up to 6 and 7, that's when you're getting to the collaborative or the participatory part, where you're saying, okay, number 6. So if you're up here on 6 on the continuum, your attitude or your response, the way you communicate, is work as a team to include one component of the guided reading implementation. And a 7, which would be top, you'd be completely allowing the teachers to implement it, trusting them. Work as a team to improve, let's see what it is, work as a team to implement guided reading as part of your daily literacy block. So that was a bit of an eye-opener for me when I implemented my future, what I think will happen in the future. Okay, and and the last thing that I wanted to talk about real quick is the leadership substitutes theory. And I thought this was kind of interesting because it wasn't a contingency theory per se like the others. It was more of a when employees do not need leadership due to certain circumstances that can be completely beyond your control. So, for example, they might be very skilled workers. They might be intrinsically motivated. They don't need a company, and they might even get a little bit offended, you know, with any kind of reward system or anything like that. The central office might be far away where they can't keep immediate tabs on them. And the workers are independent. They're motivated. They self-manage. They manage themselves. So this is the end of my video, but I was able to get through all of these theories and finally understood kind of where I need to implement certain areas. Okay, thank you.